So tonight we're going to be talking about a heading which I'm calling Disagreeable Terms. I'll explain to you what I mean by that in a moment. But if you think about business or contractual negotiations, one of the things that you try and do in those situations, the goal is to reach agreeable and acceptable terms with the people that you're talking to. It's in other words, you're trying to get to a place of understanding between all the parties that are involved. You're trying to get to a place where the outcome agreed upon works basically for everyone's advantage as much as possible. So what that requires a lot of the time is that we compromise and that we are flexible and that we're willing to hear other opinions. And so what happens is in good negotiations is both parties come to a place and they're like, I'm trying to find this place of agreeable terms, which is obviously a normal thing. If you're in the corporate world, you'll know what I'm talking about tonight. So I called tonight's message Disagreeable Terms. And what I mean by that when I say that is having disagreements in opinions and perspectives and points of view, beliefs, values, etc., yet still being able to find common ground with the people in your life and still move forward with understanding, kindness, compassion, love, and respect. So that's what I mean when I say disagreeable terms. I'm saying we encounter people in this life that are different from us, who think differently from us, who have different opinions to us, who disagree with our opinions, yet we can still find common ground, have mutual respect, and walk a road with them. So that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. So this is incredibly rare. This is what we're talking about today. This ability to do this is very rare in today's society. We live in a culture of unmatched sensitivity. We live in a culture where the generation is so easily offended. We live in a time where if someone disagrees with us or our opinion or our beliefs or our point of view, that we then see them and treat them as our enemies. It's so bad at times that if we don't agree with a person or a group or a movement or etc. on any issue, then we are called names. We are personally attacked. We are labeled things like racist or bigot or closed-minded or ignorant. And the reason we call that is simply because we disagree with what they've believed or what they've said or how they see things. Now let me give you some examples. Let me start with a basic example. In sports, there are certain rivalries that are good for the sport and generally are for good fun, you know. So for example, if you're a football fan, you might be supporting Liverpool or Manchester United, and there's this rivalry between the two. And like I said, generally it's all for the good of the game. But also what seems to happen quite a lot of the time is that this becomes a bit toxic. And then the Liverpool fans have nothing good to say about the Man United players, coach, fan base, club, etc. And it can become a bit toxic and weird. And the only reason there's this rivalry, this intensity, is because someone has a different opinion or supports a different team than I do. And we lose our minds over something like sport. Now, this is not about sport tonight. This is about other things. So this mentality that we're talking about is amplified in the more serious issues of life. Things like politics, religion, economic policy, lifestyle, and equality. So when those topics come up, then this kind of toxic separation is even worse. There's this attitude that says, if your opinion or if your thinking is different to mine, then you are wrong. You are closed-minded, etc. You come from a place of privilege. You should be cancelled. And so, but the truth is this, and there's always a possibility that we are also capable of being misled, misguided, and wrong. But we never talk about that. When someone differs in opinion or belief or value from us, immediately we just say, they're the problem, without really looking at ourselves. My question is, what has happened to healthy discourse and debate? If agreeing on everything was the foundation of all relationships working, then we would have no working relationships. If agreeing on every issue meant successful relationships, we would have no successful relationships. In fact, it's impossible as free-thinking, self-regulating individuals for us to agree with everyone on every topic. It's impossible. Now, what's happened is we define enemies as people who think or act or believe differently to ourselves. That's what we've defined enemies as. That's how we treat people different from us, and that's strange. And I want to explore that with you tonight. We define enemies as people who have different opinions than our own, and that's weird. Again, like I said, it's quite a strange thing. I want to talk to you about America for a moment. So it's election year, right? Which automatically means more drama. It means more manipulation, more rhetoric than usual. So there's the two parties there, the Republicans and the Democrats, right? They're at each other's throats. Their policies are different. What they want is different. Their values are different. And the war of ideas and words is very fierce, resulting in these clashes, this ideological clash. And it gets really ugly. Both sides are blaming each other for the state of the nation. But both sides are saying, if it wasn't for them, we'd be better. But do you know we can still disagree, even on major things, and yet still find agreeable terms to move things forward? But to do that requires maturity, understanding, and willingness to compromise from both sides. I feel those qualities are missing in our nations, missing in the public office, it's missing in the media, it's missing in education, etc., etc. I find the same problems here in South Africa. We have political parties that are out to win votes, obviously. They're out to carry certain agendas. They're out to come into power. And that's normal. And then you'll get, for example, like the ANC supporters, DA supporters, EFF, and they all just defend their parties, sometimes blindly. And we just point fingers. Oh, it's their fault, or it's them. We just point out things. And we just forget the reality is that if we could just compromise, work together, have understanding, be heard, and listen, then we can move forward anyway and push the country forward despite our differences. But again, it requires a certain maturity and willingness to compromise, which I think we're lacking so often in society these days. Despite our differences of ideas, we need flexibility, openness, and willingness to compromise for us to agree in disagreements. We need to realize that the difference of opinion, difference of perspective, values, beliefs even, all those things are important, healthy, and normal in any society. Our differences contain strength and wisdom that if we work together, if we listen, if we allow ourselves to be heard, that could create great change in our societies. We need less radicals and more moderates. Let me explain what I mean. I find that these days, everyone who has an opinion has a radical opinion, or in other words, they hold on to their opinion radically. So like you get one person this way and it's extreme, and the other person that's against them is also extreme. Where are the moderates? Moderate means, yeah, I might feel something a certain way or lean a certain way, but I'm open to compromise and to have a conversation and to be heard so that I can accommodate these people who are different to me. Where are the moderates? That's my question. Did you know that we don't have to agree with everyone on everything to still treat people with honor and respect? Again, it's something that I feel like we've just been missing in society in general. I feel the issue is that we confuse our opinions with our persona and our convictions with our character. What I mean by that is we think that our opinions are us and that our convictions are absolutely us. And now don't get me wrong, they are linked. They're absolutely linked because our opinions, convictions are very much part of us. But here's the thing I want to say is that they're not biology. In other words, those things can change. Your opinions can change. Your convictions can change in life. In fact, how many of us, when we were growing up, saw life a certain way? We believed a certain thing. And then as we got older, our opinion changed. The way we saw life changed. The way we dealt with people changed. Because we evolved and we grew and we developed, right? That's what I'm talking about. Opinions can change. But the only way that it happens is if we allow ourselves to grow and to be open and teachable. The danger of focusing on our differences makes those differences bigger. that seems insurmountable. They separate us from other people who are different. And we end up in our little groups and microcosms, and then it becomes us versus them. And that's the problem. I guarantee you that even though we have a long road to walk together, that fundamentally we still have more in common than we do that which separates us. When someone challenges our belief or our point of view or our value system, we take it very personally. Because we see their disagreeing with our opinion as them disagreeing with our person. We see them challenging our point of view as a challenge on us as people. But that's not always the case. Sometimes it is, but that's not always the case. Gone are the days, like I said earlier, of healthy disagreements and mature debate. So what happens is we perceive they're disagreeing with us as a personal attack on our person, on us as people, and then we lash out. And then we call names. Then we storm out of the room. Then we cut them out of our lives. Or we unfriend and unfollow them on social media. Now let's be honest. How many of us have unfollowed or unfriended someone because they said something or posted something that we didn't agree with? Or they said something or posted something that offended us. And then we clicked unfriend, unfollow, block even. How many of us have done it? I think we're all guilty in a way, right? We've all done it, I think, at some stage in life. No, I'm not throwing any shade yet. It happens. We've all done it. But it's not the mark of emotional maturity when we do this. I'm not talking about abuse, by the way, or letting people diminish your light, or let people hate speech and all those things. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about people that disagree, and you don't like that they disagree, and therefore you cut them out. That's what I'm talking about today. The saddest part, I feel, of our culture is that we have lost the ability, and we've lost the heart to disagree gracefully. We've lost the ability to remain committed to finding common ground despite our differences. And we've lost the heart and ability to make certain compromises to accommodate those that see things differently than we do. It's easier to call names, to call people names, than to come up with solutions. It's easier to be around people who think just like we do than those that think differently, because that can be uncomfortable for us. But I want to share this with you. It's Ephesians 4:31 to chapter 5, verses 1. And it says, "Get rid of all bitterness, all rage, anger, harsh words, and slander, as well as all types of evil behavior. Imitate God, therefore, in everything you do, because you are his dear children. Live a life filled with love, following the example of Christ. He loved us and offered himself as a sacrifice for us, a pleasing aroma to God." This is a principle of life that we should all try and live by anyway. But I think, especially what we're talking about tonight, let us be like this to the people who are different to us in opinions, in perspectives, in values, in beliefs. See, Jesus was an example, so therefore let us do what he did. Think about this now. Every one of us, Jesus entered into a relationship with us, right? Even though there are many things about our lifestyle, about our opinions, about our beliefs, about our behaviors that Jesus did not agree with. Yet, he still came into your life, still walked the road with you, still is walking, and is still patient with you to this day. Don't you think we should therefore do the same thing? Be patient when people are different. Try and understand before we seek to be understood. Try and hear their point of view, even if we disagree with it, to be respectful and understand that people are different and we are different. Now, of course, there is truth and there is right and wrong. So what happens if a person is wrong, or they're not on the side of the truth, they're absolutely wrong? Then it's not about belittling them or shouting at them. It's not about that at all. It's about then educating them. Differences don't mean that the issues between us are unsolvable. Even when people are wrong, like I said, in their opinions or outlook, use that to teach, not scorn. Use that to educate, not belittle. You know how many times I've heard people on any topic and they'll say, "I'm tired of talking about this. I'm tired of explaining. I'm tired of educating these people on this thing." I'm saying to you, don't get tired. Keep teaching, keep educating, because that's where change starts and that's where change continues. Don't give up. I'm hoping that we grow into people that can gracefully accept disagreements with honor, respect, and love. Let's become people that can agree to disagree.